So, what's your story? Go ahead, think about it. I'll wait here while you figure out just what that question is asking. That question, along with the tell me what you do or tell me about yourself, are among the hardest to answer. Hi, I'm Valerie Gordon with Commander in She, and on today's webinar, we talked about career storytelling, how to tell your story in a way that will impact and influence hiring making decisions. And we had a number of people on the call with varying backgrounds, people who are currently unemployed and looking for work, or people who just feel unfulfilled in their current line of work. We had people who are looking to transfer their skills and pivot into a new line of work. Everyone looking to create that next great chapter. But how do you speak of your past in a way that's going to influence your future? I'll bring up my deck here today to share some of the highlights from our session. And as you can see, pretty much everything I talk about in all of my workshops focus on the idea of active authorship. You are in charge of your story. You assign meaning to your past story. You make choices in your present story that will impact and create your future story. And you decide how to tell your story. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone will always hear your story, which is one reason that we need to be strategic when we're talking about our career. So we started with the idea of, well, what even is my story? And so often we're held back by limiting beliefs. It's because you are more than what you do. You are more than a job title or your profession. You are more than your past experiences, and you are more than this present moment. You are in the middle of creating your next great career chapter. And as the active author, you get to decide what happens next. There is no more important responsibility. Why would you turn that story over to someone else? But on today's call, we talked about how it's work. It's work to find work and create work that is meaningful. So your life's work is to find your life's work. And it requires your work in understanding your value and the value you bring to others and telling that story. So we use this helpful Venn diagram. It includes what you're good at, all of the skills and experience you have, things that you do really well, either through your education, prior roles, experience, volunteerism, what you care about, the things that matter to you, your passions and your interests, the things that drive you, that inspire you, but pairing those with what the company needs and values. What is the story of the company? And that's where your research into the company is really important, because it's the middle there where those three things converge. That's the sweet spot of the story, where your skills and experience, what you're good at, what you care about, and what the company needs all match up. What does the company value? You want them to value you. So your story is one about your value, your UVP, also known as your unique value proposition. Now, that's not just what you do, it's everything about you. Your story is based on the value you bring, and your value is based on your skills, knowledge, education, professional and informal work experience, your technical know-how, your network, all of the people you know, the contacts you have, and the recommendations they will give you. It includes all of your awards and acknowledgments and all of your capabilities and your ability to take action on those capabilities. It also includes your personality, behaviors, and tendencies, things like work ethic and ability to collaborate or work creatively. And your value also comes from your past successes, your past failures, and lessons learned. No experience is wasted. Every experience has made you who you are today and given you to where you are today, and there is value in that. Finally, your value is your professional and personal brand. Think of it as the story people tell about you when you are not in the room. You want to lead with your story so that they are left with the impression you want them to have. So here are 15 tips to telling your story we talked about today. Every story that you tell related to your career needs to be authentic, meaning it's true to you. It needs to be relevant, to the job at hand, and goal-oriented. What's the point of telling the story? You want to make sure you're focused on that end result. So if you're focused on the end result, I say don't start at the beginning. When someone says, tell me about yourself, you might be tempted to start at the very beginning, where you grew up, what you studied in college, your first job. Don't. It's too long of a journey, and typically the audience doesn't need to know every step along the way. They want to know, what's the big picture statement? What's that thing you say about you, that defines the value that you bring? Consider that a strategic summary, the fit and goals of the organization. Doesn't mean you're telling them what they want to hear. After all, we're focused on authenticity, but you're seeing again where your skills and interests match with their needs. That's your strategic summary. You want to make sure you have ready to go your highlight reel. Think of it like your SportsCenter top 10. What have some of your past successes said about you? What are some of the highlights of your career thus far? Where have you succeeded and felt most at home? You want to list all of your relevant skills and experience, again, relevant to the job at hand. And you also want to be future focused. Share ideas and influence that show that you've done research into the company. You can also use your past success to predict future, meaning future success you can have. Even if you haven't worked in this specific role or this specific industry, what can you translate from previous jobs that might play a part in your future success? A few more tips here. Stories can demonstrate growth and impact, those things that can be counted, quantitative results. What are the sales numbers that you've grown or successes that you've had? How have you improved the company's bottom line? But I hear often from people who work in fields that aren't substantiated by numbers. In that case, you're telling a qualitative story. What are the accolades, reviews, and recommendations that you've gotten as part of your work? You can also talk about the role you play. Think of this prompt. Colleagues say I am. What type of a contributor are you? That tells a story. Don't introduce but respond to gaps. You might be tempted to point out deficiencies that you have as if to say, I'm aware of them and I can work on them. I always say, don't hedge your bets in this regard. Wait till the interviewer asks you about those gaps and then respond accordingly. Always lead with the positive. Accentuate the positive and your potential to grow and cover any of those gaps. And being a good storyteller also means being a good listener. So as you're interviewing or networking, look for cues from your audience. Are they interested in what you're saying? Do they want to know more? If not, check in with them if you're not quite sure. Can I tell you more about that? That sounds like something that might match with your organization. Would you like to know more? Get clues from them as to where to take your story and watch for how they respond. Most importantly, though, don't get stuck in the past. The impression you want to give them is not just the value you had for a previous organization, but the value you will bring to theirs. Tell the future story, what you can bring to their company or their business that makes them appreciate your value and want you. Finally, if you don't get the opportunity, don't take it personally. Know that your value doesn't decrease based on someone else's inability to see your worth. These are situations, not a personal statement about the value you bring. We wrapped up with a quick do's and don'ts. Do your research. Make sure you understand what the company is looking for so that you can be goal-oriented in your story. Know your value. Take stock of all of your skills and experience, behaviors and attributes that creates that unique value proposition. Have a signature story. Make it one of success, something that you've succeeded in, and get comfortable sharing that story. Express curiosity about how your goals might match with the company's and the value you can bring and the impact you can have. And check in during the conversation to see what they might want to know more about and where you might need to switch gears. A few don'ts. Don't hedge. Don't share the bad stuff first, thinking you're getting it out of the way. Wait to be asked about any gaps or deficiencies. When you are asked about them, don't dance around the questions. Answer them authentically and honestly. No one has every single job qualification ready to go. If they did, they wouldn't have any room for growth in the job and they'd quickly grow tired of it. So make sure it's okay to let the interviewer know you have the potential to learn and succeed just like you've done in the past. Don't be passive. It's okay to tout your capabilities, to make sure they know everything you've done. Now's not the time to be shy about sharing the best of yourself. Don't be defensive if you're challenged or told that you're not a good match. You don't need to prove that you are. Someone else will see your value for a position that is right for you. So finally, don't forget who you are and why you matter. All of our storytelling workshops are based on these questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who you are, who you want to be, what you do, what you are capable of doing, when and where you've been most successful, when and where you can make an impact. Why is this important to you? Why are you of value? And the how becomes, how can you be of value to someone else? And how can you make your next chapter happen? Here's to actively authoring your next chapter. Thanks so much for being here, and see you on the next one.